Secretary, please read SCA 4, 8, and Senate Bill 6 a second time.
Senate Constitutional Amendment 4 by Senator Maldonado, a resolution to propose to the people of the state of California an amendment to the Constitution of the state by amending sections 5 and 6 of Article 2 thereof relating to elections.
I need the language right to
Okay.
I need the title in there.
Senator Maldonado, you're recognized. Okay,
Senate Constitutional Amendment 8 by Senator Maldonado, a resolution to propose to the people of the state of California an amendment to the Constitution of the state by amending Section 8 of Article 3 thereof relating to state officers' salaries.
You may open.
We may open on SCA 4, Mr.
That was 4. That was 4.
It's SB,
And now I have
SCA 4. Please read.
Okay, Senate Constitutional Amendment 4 by Senator Maldonado, a resolution to propose to the people of the state of California an amendment to the Constitution of the state by amending sections 5 and 6 of Article 2 thereof relating to elections.
Yes. They've all read a second time. Senator Maldonado, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll be very brief. SCA 4, if approved by the voters of California on the June 2010 ballot, this measure would establish a top 2 primary system where voters could cast ballots for members of any party in a primary election. Specifies that the 2 candidates who receive the most votes in the primary, regardless of party, then advance to the general election. Mr. President and members, SCA 4, I think, is an important piece that we need to move forward. I really believe that it is a piece that will allow us to come together and work more closely, and maybe we wouldn't have sessions at 3 a.m. at 3:49. But I'm asking for an aye vote, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Maldonado. I'd like to recognize Senator Padilla.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, I rise to express my concern about this concept of open primary and the process by which this proposal is before us today. And I don't believe I'm alone in my concerns. You know, just 4 years ago, groups as diverse as Common Cause, the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, California Federation of Teachers, and others strongly opposed what was then Proposition 62. And the voters of California rejected it. The proposal before us today would allow only the top 2 vote getters in a primary election to advance to a general election. Opponents of open primaries argue that this greatly reduces voter choice in a general election. Our current election structure affords voters the choice of a candidate from all the political parties in a general election. This proposal would limit general election options to just 2, even if they're from the same political party. I'm also concerned because there is evidence that suggests that open primaries have a negative impact on voter participation. Statistics show that voter participation in the United States was higher when people could only vote for candidates in the primary from their own political party. Just recently in Hawaii, in 2006, after changing to open primaries in presidential elections, voter turnout fell from more than 74% in 1978 to just 42%. The closed primary system incentivizes voters to join one of the major political parties, and in turn leads voters to be more active in the process. I'm further concerned because the open primary also leaves party nominations vulnerable to manipulation. In fact, during the recent 2008 presidential elections, there are some Republican advocates who called upon Republican voters to cross over and vote for Democratic candidates they considered to be weaker candidates in order to strengthen the chances of Republican candidates in the general election. Some of you may recognize this as Rush Limbaugh's Operation Chaos. Finally, many argue that the open primary is unconstitutional, that the open primary law violates the freedom of association because it forces them to allow outsiders to select their candidates. Freedom of association has been recognized by the U.S. Supreme Court, first in the NAACP versus Alabama, where the court said that it is beyond debate that freedom to engage in association for the advancement of beliefs and ideas is an inseparable aspect of liberty, assured by the Due Process Clause of the 5th and 14th Amendments, which embraces the freedom of speech. In California today, we don't have an open primary or even a closed primary system. We have a modified closed primary and have had since 2001. In our primaries, each political party is free to choose whether or not to allow unaffiliated voters to participate in that party's primary. And in doing so, this protects a party's right to freedom of association by giving them the choice. But as bad as I believe this proposal is, it's even worse in the form by which it's before us at this late hour. Our reality, however, is that there's a member of this Senate who insists that this be part of the budget package. I recognize, and I believe we all recognize all too well, that our state is facing a fiscal crisis that threatens to worsen our economy and devastate families and businesses throughout the state. It is for this reason and this reason only that I'm willing to vote to put this question before the voters. But I felt compelled to go on the record to express my concerns about the policy proposal before us.
Thank you, Senator Padilla. Senator Wyland is recognized at his desk.
I'll be very brief. At this late hour, even though many of us believe in reform, and I believe in reform, this is not the right way to consider important measures. But just very quickly, I think the intent of the author for reform is very important. I intend to support many of the other measures that he has introduced. But I find myself in agreement with Senator Padilla on this one issue. I'm a strong supporter of redistricting, of Proposition 11. I think it's important to give voters a fair chance to elect the candidates that they want when its districts are as equally drawn as possible. But the reality is, in the history of all democracies in this world, a strong party system is a key component of that. We may not like the way our parties constitute themselves at certain times, but strong, vigorous parties are absolutely essential to a good democracy. And unfortunately, this proposal, the way it's done, although well-intended, I think undermines that. So while I believe in reform, I believe in redistricting as a way to do that, I don't think this is the right way to go about empowering voters, because it undermines a key element of democracy, which is the party system.
Thank you, Senator Wyland. Senator Correa is recognized at his desk.
Thank you. Just very brief, since we're such late hour, early hour of the morning. Let's remember what we're doing here today, which is essentially giving the voters an opportunity to vote whether California should have open primaries. What is there to fear? The voters have approved open primaries in the past. Unfortunately, those were ruled unconstitutional. Let's give it another shot. The voters have spoken. Let's give them another shot for true political reform. I ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Correa. Senator Cedillo is recognized at his desk.
The hour is late, and I simply want to attach myself to the comments of my esteemed colleague, Senator Padilla. There are concerns with respect to this issue. It's not that we are adverse or not in favor of reform, but there is a concern that there would be adverse impacts on communities who for years have suffered violations of Voting Rights Act. I share that concern. It was well articulated by Senator Padilla. If we wanted to ensure more robust elections, to ensure that elections were reflective of the demographic complexion of the state, we could ensure that there was district voting, for example, in every city and school district of this state. Those measures for reform have come before this House and have not seen the favor of many here or of the governor downstairs. Nonetheless, as was stated, this is part of a package which includes our commitment to address immediate concerns of the state of California, concerns that are overwhelming in many respects, concerns that compel us to add this to the package, to embrace it as part and parcel of a broader viewpoint about what are the needs of the people of California today and to move forward. So with that, I also will be voting for the proposal, but with those concerns articulated for the record. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Dutton is recognized at his desk.
Yeah, I wasn't going to speak, but I can't help myself now because there were so many people speaking about justifying why we're hearing or why we're going to vote a constitutional amendment that has not had one policy hearing. You talk about circumventing this. I know why we're doing it. I appreciate all the justification, but does everybody realize what we're doing to the system, what we're doing to the Senate, and what it's supposed to stand for? This is ridiculous. It should be voted no.
Senator Steinberg is recognized at his desk.
Thank you very much. Because I would just dispute one major fact. It's not late. It's early. I wanted to give voice to members of my caucus. It was well articulated by Senator Padilla and Senator Cedillo. I'm asking my colleagues to vote yes because it's essential to passing the budget. I too am concerned about the process. This kind of measure of this import ought to go through a much longer vetting process. And our support, and we will support this, we will move this on, should not in any way imply my support or my caucus's support for the measure itself as it reaches the ballot. We are voting today to put this very, very important question before the people of California. Thank you very much.
Senator Maldonado, you may close.
Well, Mr. President and members, I know that the process is something that we might not like. Would like to have another day to maybe go through committee hearing and hear this, but I think it's the time of the essence of where we're at this moment. I mean, do we need another 2 days to hear this piece of legislation? Yes. Is it perfect? I think we've done pretty good. I can tell you that I think this is a piece of legislation that'll make history for the people of California, because I don't want to have budgets where we were late every year. I think that what brought me to this was when I was a mayor and a city council member in the city of Santa Maria. I ran for office, and I didn't run as a Republican, and I didn't run as a Democrat. And when we worked together in that city hall, we didn't get into a closed session and we said to ourselves, you know what, let's pave the north side of the town because that's where the Republicans live. Or you know what, let's put a stop sign on the west side because Democrats live over there. We didn't. We just worked hard together to do what's right for the people of that city. And I think that once the people have the opportunity to vote for this, I think they'll support it. And Mr. Padilla made some valid comments, and he'll have every right to go after this initiative on the ballot when it gets on the ballot. But at the end of the day, Mr. Pro Tem, I think it's groundbreaking. I think it's historic, and I think it'll move California in the right direction.
Thank you, Senator. Will the Secretary please call the roll?
Onnested. No. Alquist. Aye. Ashburn. Benoit. No. No. Calderon. Aye. Cedillo. Aye. Cogdill. Corbett. No. Correa. Aye. Cox. Aye. Denham. Desaunier. Aye. Ducheny. Aye. Dutton. No. Florez.
Aye.
Aye. Hancock. No. Harmon. No. No. Hollingsworth. No. Huff. No. Kehoe. Aye. Leno. Aye. Lou. Aye. Lowenthal. Aye. Maldonado.
Aye.
Aye. Negrete McLeod. Oropesa. Aye. Padilla. Pavley. Aye. Romero. No. Runner. No. Simidian. Aye. Steinberg. Aye. Strickland. No. Walters. No. Wiggins. Aye. Wolk. Aye. Wright. Aye. Wyland. No. Yee. Yee, no.
Please call the absent members. Please call the absent members.
Ashburn. Cogdill. Denham. Negrete McLeod. Padilla.
Please call the absent members.
Ashburn.
Two-thirds.
Ashburn, aye. Cogdill. Aye. Denham. Negrete McLeod. Aye. Padilla. Aye.
Senator Maldonado moves the call. Members, would like to recognize Senator Romero at her desk.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I rise reluctantly to ask you to lift the call on file item, whatever the hell it is, because we got it at, what, 4:30 in the morning? It's the so-called Reform of Government bill. And I will cast a vote on this measure. I want to say, however, that it's a tough road to be here. I was the lead plaintiff in the very first voting rights lawsuit in the state of California on behalf of Latinos and African Americans. Romero et al. Versus the city of Pomona. Guess what? We lost. But I'm here today, and the largest legislative caucus is the Latino caucus. There's a reason for that. The Voting Rights Act, freedom rights, civil rights, marches, voting. I had indicated over and over, I don't believe in this. And in fact, ironically, every time I've been elected, it's been in an open primary. So it's not about me. But we do have our work to do tonight. I'm very cognizant representing East LA. I've got poor people. I've got children. I'm not worried about somebody running for political office and whether they can get reelected in their own party. That doesn't concern me. And it should shame us on this floor. So when I will cast a vote to put this over to the other house, And I know there are many there as well who feels this is a disgusting process. This is not good government. This is not political reform. This is old-fashioned special interests. But I'm going to think about those little kids in East Los Angeles that I represent, and I'm going to remember those freedom rides that I've been on. And come campaign time, I will ask people to think about the implications of what we did this morning and ask people, give them an opportunity to vote. Give them the opportunity to vote and have them think about how we do government. And I know it's a hard situation for everybody, and I know a lot of other members feel this way, so I'd probably just better be quiet now. And I ask you to lift the call.
Senator Corbett. Senator Corbett is recognized at her desk.
Thank you very much. I will be voting aye on SCA 4 this morning as well. And I think, I don't even really know what to say. When we are elected to these positions, we're here to serve the people who elect us and the broader state as well. This is an extremely difficult vote. I will be voting aye for the good of the state of California so that we can pass this budget. But I rise to speak lest anybody ever forget that our process is irreparably broken. Our democracy cannot work in a process where a two-thirds vote is required and the majority cannot pass a budget in the way they see fit. So I just hope everybody thinks long and hard and remembers this evening as we move forward. And I really hope we are never confronted again on this floor with the sort of choice we have this evening, where we have to decide to put a measure such as this that should have more full hearings and more deliberation. I don't support the ideals behind this measure. I believe it will change the way we do business in the state in a way that will have long-term implications that are not for the good of the state. But I vote aye this evening for the good of the order. Thank you.
Will the Secretary please lift the call?
Denham. Denham, aye. Yeah.
Relax. They have to switch their votes. Wait until they
Corbett, no to aye. Romero, no to aye.
27 ayes, 27 noes, 12. The resolution is adopted.